Welcome to the Cheer Athlete. This week, we're going to talk about summer workouts and what you need to be looking for as you're starting to come off of active cheer season and move into what comes next through the summer. For high school and for youth cheerleaders and for college cheerleaders, you're going to be wanting to spend time building up the summer. For All-Star, also, this is your down season, even though it's not really an off season, but it's a down season. So this is the time we're going to get going. So let's talk about it and let's dive right in. Welcome to the Cheer Athlete Podcast, where we bring coaches, parents, and athletes expert tips and advice to help keep cheerleaders healthy, strong, and at the top of their game. Now let's go. I love this time of year because it's a transition. It's time to kind of take a little mini step back from the go of being in a cheer routine and of always showing up at practice and having to do the work and keep proving your skills and being at competitions and traveling to competitions. We're winding down now. We're close to the end and we get a little pause and a little breather. As if you know, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know that my background is in school cheer. I coached high school cheerleading in Northborough, Massachusetts, and I coached at the College of Holy Cross. And I went back to Northborough, Massachusetts, and I also coached in Watertown as I started. So my background in coaching is high school and college cheer. And so that's where my brain goes in as far as timing wise. But this applies to All-Star as well, because you're not in the same thick of things as you are from September through almost May. But you need to still focus on, like, what am I going to do to improve? This coming time, this next May through September, is your time to really ramp up and build your strength, build your mobility, build your endurance, push a little bit on your strength work so that when September comes or August, whenever you're starting, you're in better shape and ready to go. Not just saying better shape. Like, I kind of cringe these days when people say, I want to get in better shape, because we want to get stronger. We want to be more proactive about our health, for sure. And yes, the in shape end of it comes with that. But the importance of getting in shape over the next months is to get your body ready to do all the things that we make it do through the year. So, what does this mean? What does a good workout look like? You need to plan at a minimum of 20 minutes. So those are on the days that you're running and you can barely get something in, right? A workout should basically take you 45 minutes, maybe an hour if you have a little extra time. Plan a solid 10 to 15 minutes as part of your warm up. I just met with a kid today. He is a soccer player, and mom, rightly so, was like, they don't do a warm up. All they do is ball handling drills. So if you followed me for a while, you know I'm a big proponent, a big supporter of doing warm-ups. And I think that's really important in preventing injuries. I think you got to get your body ready and prepared for what it's about to do. So these guys, they showed me, and mom came up with a warm-up routine that was very close to being ready. She just had him start running and then start skipping and bounding and shuffle stepping, all of stuff which is going to improve coordination and agility and definitely get you moving and get the body ready to go. But there's a crucial step before that. When you first get to practice, before you do your warm up, before you do your workout, get on the ground. This is when you can create some mobility in your quads. We want to do, if you're insistent on doing a static stretch, do that very first when you get there. Then you can get in and do some more dynamic stretching where you're actually moving in and out. I think on a time wise, you can skip the static stretching beforehand. It's not going to do you any good in your workout. It could make you weaker and you inhibit muscles as opposed to just getting everything moving evenly and as we need to. So more of a dynamic workout. So if you're doing your quad, you might bring your foot to your butt and move your knee forward and back. Now, I like to do these lying down, and when I program workouts, start lying down and work up into standing. For me, that flows better. And it just makes more sense because then you're not up, down, up, down, up, down, which is part of a good workout anyways. But so I like to start with the quad stretch and then maybe do some glute bridges after. So you're stretching the front of the leg and strengthening the back of the leg. A hamstring stretch where you're pulling one leg You're moving the other leg up and down, or you're bending your knee and you're straightening. So if this is my knee here, my elbow, if you're straightening the knee and bending back and forth, that's going to strengthen the quad at the same time as loosening up and preparing the hamstring. There's 1,000 exercises you can do for a warm up. You can grab my book if you want a list of exercises, and I've got a whole mess of workouts that come with that. And I also have an app that is just about ready to be launched. So it's going to have different warm-ups in there and different mobility work that will help increase flexibility and stabilize to make sure that everything moves right. But you can look up mobility work online. You can check out my other exercises on YouTube also. The key is stretch something and stabilize it. Move, get the mobility, get things rocking back and forth. Gradually, you want to work from your ankles, your knees, your hips, and then get into your shoulders with doing some shoulder presses or some open the book that you're rotating back and forth. Lots of trunk rotation. Planks are, modified planks and just basic planks are a great way to activate the core and get you going. Inchworms will stretch out the back of your legs and stabilize your core and get some shoulder stability so that your body's primed and ready. And then from there, come up into standing and then start some skipping, some jumping, some Frankenstein walks, butt kicks, hip circles. Once you get in the flow of it, this should take you 10 minutes. It won't take you long at all. Then we want to move on. When we get after our warm up, we want to move into plyometrics, jumping, explosive work. You can even just do tuck jumps. This is the time kids should start working on jumping. If they have control on a tuck jump and they can land it, working on a box jump. So starting from the ground and jumping up onto a box. I just saw a great video on Instagram and I was going to try and link it in here, but it's beyond my capability in editing for today. But it was a great video showing they were hopping back and forth over a cone or over a like mini hurdle, went back and forth, and then they would jump over and then jump onto a box so that you are kind of creating that back and forth motion and then really getting that power up onto the box. And I love that because it's getting some spring into the calves, and then you work the power up and through the rest of the legs. And I think that is a really big carryover for jumps or for a flyer who's flying co-ed and needs to jump high to be able to get up and hit the stunt. It's great exercise for tumbling and all the power that we need for tumbling. So plyometrics are really important for cheerleading, and now is the time to start to build them. You're only going to do like 3 to 4 sets of 5 repetitions max. We're not looking to burn out. We're just looking to create some explosive power. An upper body exercise for a plyometric might be slams, taking a med ball and just slamming it into the ground. This is great to do to get the core active as well as getting the upper body active. And that will carry over again into holding anything overhead. You could throw in some agility work. In this off season, it's a great time. Like get a ladder out and do some ladder drills. Maybe you're alternating side to side. You're going to do some crossover steps, like out and in or out 2, back 1. That's going to create some different stability through the hips and the core and getting that explosive power again, which will carry over into all that we do in chair. So we've done our warm up. That's 10 to 15 minutes max. We're doing some plyos. We're going through them. We alternate an upper body, so maybe we do a push up with a explosive push up. So off a table that you do the push up and then push away and come back down nice and slow and controlled. And that would be an upper body, and then a box jump would be a lower body. And if you alternate those back and forth for 3 sets of 5 on each one, you're going to get everything's ready, primed and ready to go. Your neurological system's on fire. You're creating that power, and you're only 20 minutes into your workout. So now we're going to spend 20 minutes in your strength routine. Now, I like to program and do circuits. I think it's important, like it gives you time. It doesn't take so much time if you do a circuit. If you do a knee dominant, which might be a squat, a hip dominant, which might be a deadlift, a pushing exercise, which could be push-ups, it could be shoulder press, and then you do a pulling motion, either like a pull down or a pull up and rows. So picking one of those, and you have 4 of those exercises, and you pick a core exercise and you pick a carry exercise and maybe doing a lunge pattern. 6 exercises, and you do 1 set of each for 8 to 12 repetitions. If you can't do 8, the weight's probably too heavy. If you're doing 12 and you're like, this is so easy, I could do 50, then the weight's too light. So we got to find what we need to put in for weight on that and adjust that so that we're working that you really should be working those 8 rep ranges, even 5 to 8 over the summer to really build that strength. But as you're starting out, think 8 to 12. If you can easily do 12, then the next time add a little load to it, make it a little bit harder. There's lots of ways to do that. If you have questions, hit the Ask a PT form and send me that, and I can talk about how to change resistance as you go. I think it's important. I love Olympic powerlifts. I was just checking out some of Maria Weissman's exercises, and she's been doing a great job about talking about what training for bases look like, and including some Olympic lifting like snatches and cleans and incorporating that into training. And I absolutely think that's important. Where I hesitate, because if you're listening to this and you're going through and trying to find out what to do for workout, if you don't have the good form, if you don't know that you can bend forward and touch your toes, you don't know how to do it, the Olympic lifts can be challenging. So use best judgment. If you're not sure how to do something, ask, and let's talk that through. I will do Olympic lifting with kettlebells. I think they love kettlebells because it is self-limiting. You can do it single arm clean, so you're bending forward and then you're pulling it right up into like a dagger's position, or however you're holding the weight. That is a great way to get explosive power. You can do it with 2 hands, and you do have to self limit as you're going, because you got to control the weight. When you get into a barbell, you need a little bit more control. You need that wrist stability. I think they're excellent exercises, and I 100% encourage you to learn how to do them, especially as a younger athlete moving through. But somebody that's just starting out in strength training, that's not the place to start. You want to start a little easier, make sure they can do the basics first, and then build from there. If you have 20 minutes, you're going to do as many rounds as you can of that 8 to 12 repetitions of all those 6 exercises. That could be your workout. And maybe you spend 5 minutes running through some stretches. This is when you can do your splits if you so choose. You can work on the pigeon pose. You can really work on getting the shoulder mobility back, and you work on some back bends to help your back stability, and kind of stretching things out after a workout. I don't think those are the best exercises to just do those, right? You can put those after workout. If you're going to work on some stretching, that's the time to do it. If you have time and you can go for that hour, you're going to take 10 minutes and you're going to do some sprints. If you're at a track, you can run and sprint the length of the track and then walk around the corner and then sprint and walk, for whatever time you have left. If you're at home, like I live on the middle of a hill, so walk down the hill, sprint up the hill, walk down the hill, sprint up the hill, for however many rounds you can do in the time that you have. If you're at the gym, you could get on the treadmill and do a Tabata. So you would sprint for 10 seconds as hard and as fast as you can, and then stop for 20 seconds. And then sprint for 10 seconds and stop for 20 seconds. You do 8 rounds of that. It really gets your heart rate up. When you're catching a theme, the sprinting, while I don't say that you have to do that through the year, like going out and going for a long run, we don't really need to build that endurance, but we do need the power from sprinting, and working on hill sprints or things like a Tabata will really create that quick power. And it's going to give you a lot of good strain through your calves, your tendons, your joints, and getting into that power, which will help build your jump ability. So working on the sprints at the end. If you don't like to sprint and you can't, you could do the same thing on a bike. You could do the same thing on an elliptical trainer. You could go on to the stair climber and do that. But you're going to do your conditioning at the end of your strength workout, and you're pushing it to get fatigued, but not fall down. And you're only going for a short period of time, 10 to 15 minutes, and then you would stretch at the end of that. So that's what a general workout should look like. And that should happen minimum of 2 days a week, ideally 4 days a week. And you will do alternating exercises so that if you're, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, the strength exercises may rotate. So one day it's a 2-legged exercise, the next day it's a single leg exercise. So you're still working the same body parts, but a little bit differently. So the muscle soreness won't be as tiring. On the off day, on Wednesday and Saturday, That's when you go for a longer run, get in the pool, go to a lake and do some swimming, do something completely different. But do some cardio that challenges your body, gets your heart rate up into for kids, it could be in the like 130 to 150 range. For older, you might need a little lower for cardiac wise, but getting yourself training in that like 65 to 75% of your cardio training zone, and go for half an hour to 40 minutes of regular steady state. You can do your warm-ups beforehand and you can do your stretches afterwards. It doesn't have to be as long, but that's going to help to build endurance at the same time as you're building the speed and the agility in your other strength workouts. We really need, over this course of the summertime, we need to build our explosive power. We need to be working on getting off the ground. We need to build strength in our legs and our core and our upper body, and work everything as a whole, and not just focus on little weights and just stretching. We can improve our flexibility and our mobility to pull off better stunts, but focus on the strength over this next couple of months, and do a set of workouts for a month and then change it the next month and change it the next month. So over the course of the next 12 weeks, you'll have a good program to get you ready to go, so that when camp comes in August, or choreography comes, or it's hardcore, August 1st comes and Pop Warner is on the go. You want to make sure that your little ones are ready. So get them doing work now, so that when August comes, all you have to focus on is the cheer stuff. For little kids, it's okay for them to lift weight if they can. If their form is terrible, if they can't even hold a plank and they can't do a regular push-up, there's no need to be loading up a bench press for them or overhead shoulder press. They need to work on that core control, learn how to move. As they're doing that, they're neurologically building stability in their body. Get them crawling, get them climbing trees, get them stepping up onto trees and jumping down. They can be playing hopscotch, they can play leapfrog, they can do wheelbarrows. Those are great exercises with a friend to really build some core stability. And it gets them playing and it's more fun. The little ones that, under 10, they can be out playing more and creating more neurological stimulation, which will carry over much better into strength workouts. But they got to do it now. Same time frame, they got to be consistent on doing some body conditioning at this point in the game. And so that when summer comes or when fall comes, they're ready to go. This is not only going to help prevent injuries, reduce injuries, it's going to make stunting be better. They're going to have less time off the mat. They're going to be less sick if they can build the resilience up now. In addition to that, dial in nutrition, make sure they're getting lots of water. Summertime, let them have watermelon, but make sure their water bottle is filled and they're drinking extra water so they don't get dehydrated. Do the prep work now so that the fall can be that much easier. Again, if you have questions about any of this, you can fill out the Ask a PT form or just straight up message me on Instagram. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'll answer something here live if you want to go dive more into it. And my strength and conditioning book is out, and there's exercise that can go with that. And I am releasing the app. I'm just putting those final touches on it. I've got all my exercises together. I'm just trying to make sure it all flows. So if you want to start and try that free for 30 days, just send me a message. I will post the link down below also, and then you can get signed up for that as well. So any questions, just let me know. I hope that was helpful for you. Get after it. Enjoy the downtime away from cheer, and also get after your workouts so that you are ready to go and ready to crush next season. I hope you had a great season, a great year this year, and good job. I've loved seeing everybody up on social media and seeing all the different posts. And where did this year go? It went really fast. All right, that's it for this week. Don't forget, when in doubt, breathe out. Take life one step at a time. You can do anything you put your mind to. And as my friend Drew Kelleher used to say, you're responsible for your own vibes. Let's go do the day.